Hi, Jonathan from Live Love Coach. Are you or someone you know feeling stuck, searching for direction, or wanting a clearer sense of what's next? You're welcome to connect with me. Whether you're exploring practical next steps or seeking God's leading, I'm always open to a genuine, no pressure conversation. Part 1 of my 2-part story. Welcome back. Today I thought I'd share a bit about my own story about how I became to be in life coaching, and where I've come from, what I've been doing, and just why life coaching. What does it actually mean to me? What is it all about for me, and that sort of thing. And so, for me, the journey has been a bit of a longer journey. There's been a few things in the process. When I left school, I grew up in Matamata, and I left school from there. I went into Polytech and then on to becoming a fitter welder, welding up heavy manufacturing equipment, mining equipment, and that sort of thing. And so did that for about 5 years in Matamata, and then moved to Hamilton. With moving to Hamilton, I took on a number of different welding jobs. I found that once I got out of the place where I was originally working, I started to get a bit bored and looking for more variety or change or anything like that, and kept shifting around a bit. And so for about a period of 5 years, nearly 6 years, I chopped and changed jobs about every year and a half in the welding industry. And then it was after one experience at a tow bar shop where I was welding tow bars, and I was actually like the shop foreman, shop manager. I'd look after some of the staff there at times. I'd look after the shop. The owner would go away at times, and so I was responsible for looking after the place and making sure everything ran smoothly. And that really opened me up to a new world that I sort of went, actually I don't mind this. I sort of found a bit of a thing going around and seeing people, seeing how I could help people and do that sort of thing. And really things went sort of from there. But that sort of led me into thinking, well, actually, I got a bit tired of the welding side of it. Having learned a little bit about the business side and the people side, I went into look into getting a sales job. And that was it was a lot harder than I expected it would be. If you know anything about getting into sales or whatever, people are looking for experience. As with many jobs, people are looking for experience. They're not very often wanting to give somebody a chance. But I managed to get a job with a company as a sales rep, travelling sales rep, selling welding equipment. Because of my welding background, they put me in the position to be able to help people with welding, and so that just opened me up to this position, which was great. And so the first couple of months, I was paired with a guy in Hamilton who was looking after the area that I was going to be helping with. And then once we got through that first couple of months, he showed me the ropes, showed me the people to see and whatnot. We sort of divided up the area and away we went. For the first about year, I was working alongside him, doing bits and pieces, and between us we're doing about 30,000 a month around the Waikato Bay of Plenty region. And he was always like, I'm doing more than you. You really need to ramp it up a bit and whatnot. It was one of those things. He was taking the good clients, and I was getting left with all the little scraggly bits and finding all new clients. But about a year into it, he moved to a different position within the company, and that just left the whole area to me. And so therefore, I had the responsibility of looking after the whole area. They didn't take on another sales rep. I stepped into that role, and we did the field days and a few other bits and pieces, and that just started me on a role that I really found my feet. And by the time I left that business, 2.5 years of working there, I'd taken the area of the Waikato Bay Plenty up to 60,000 a month on my own, and it was quite an achievement. And I would have, if I'd stayed on, I would have been promoted up. But for me, it was at that stage I was sort of going, I'm liking the role, but I'm not liking what I'm selling. I'm not enjoying the environment that I'm working in, and then I really just decided I wanted to change. And so that's where I started looking around and sort of going, okay, I've been involved in somewhat running a business when I was running tow bars, and then having gone into sales. Sales role that sort of opened me up to knowing, well, hey, I can sell to people, I can talk with people, and I can, present them with items that they can buy, and make a sale transaction and make that all work. And so that led me into sort of going, okay, I've got the skills there. I really enjoy the freedom I have as being a sales rep, that I was expected to show up at 8 o'clock at the office. Then after that, they didn't want to see me. I was expected to be out on the road, talking to customers, bringing in sales, which I was doing. And that just opened me up to sort of go, oh, hey, actually I think I could run my own business. I practically ran a business before. I've been in sales now for a while, and it's like running my own business. I just didn't have the responsibility of dealing with taxes and accounts and all that sort of thing. I just had to put orders through, talk to people and make things happen. But I thought, well, I'd be interested in seeing if I can run my own business. And so I looked into working in different industries, working on different areas, looked at all sorts of bits and pieces, and eventually landed on the audio-visual industry. And having been a welder, I had the physical, mechanical attributes to be able to do the work, because he's drilling holes and running cables and making things work and sort out, having to have that sort of thinking around that of how these things are going to operate. And so that led me into going, that sounds like an interesting industry. I'd already sort of had an interest in electronics. I was interested in that sort of thing. So I moved into it. I looked at a couple of franchises, ended up with a group, with some group support, but that really didn't help. The guy who set it up was like, I'll help you with business coaching and whatnot, and rah. He didn't really help. He when things got a bit tough, because I started in 2006, in 2008 the global recession started to affect New Zealand, and by 2010 I practically didn't have a business. Only just started out, didn't know the ropes, didn't know really how to manage my money or do anything like that. And here was the guy who was saying he would give me a hand, was now saying, oh, you're the worst of the lot, we can't help you. I'm not interested, you've got to sort yourself out, what's going on? And it's like, well, dude, help me out here, help me get through this, because I don't know, I've not been shown how to do this sort of thing. And so that was quite an eye-opener. I actually went back to welding for a year, and with that, realised very quickly that I really did not like welding, and swore never again to go back there. But while I was doing that, I kept the audio-visual business going in the background. I couldn't give it away. I really wanted to be doing that, but I needed to make some income to feed my family. And so after a year, I walked away from that job. I had been looking at other work where I could get another job, could I get a sales role, get back into that, because I did enjoy that. But eventually, nothing sort of came out, and I just went back into the audio-visual market, and things started to pick up again, and it actually worked out quite all right. And that's where I was for 20 years, working away in that. So I tried different things along the way, because I'd sort of get a bit bored, sort of a bit over it, want to change things up. And so I've done all sorts of things throughout that, but I've learned a lot over that time. But the last 2 years, 3 years, I started going, I'm over this. I really want something different, and I really wasn't sure what to do. I was stuck in that mindset that I'm a tradesman. I know how to use tools and do things with my hands, and so therefore that's what I've got to move into. What other trade can I do? I tried things like beekeeping, again, a bit of a trade, and all that sort of thing, and what have you. And I just kept looking around, and what can I do? I switched up from audio-visual into security systems, thinking that would be a good way to go, different point of interest, and it still didn't bring that interest that I had. So when I started looking into different things, I started getting into personality tests. I've always had an interest in personalities. an interest in what it does for us to know what our personality is. And so I spent a couple of years, over a couple of years I spent the time doing different tests. And so I did the DISC profile, I've done the Working Genius profile, I've done Flames, Open Flames, which is a communication profile. I've done Clifton Strengths and a couple others, which all gave me a greater picture of who I was, why I did things the way I did them, why when I was knew I needed to do a job, I would just be distracted, or say I needed to phone somebody, and I'd be like, okay, I need to give this person a call, and within 5 minutes I've forgotten about it and I've moved on. It'd be the next day or a day after, they go, oh, dang, I didn't call that person, I need to give them a call. Why am I quite happy that I don't call my mates or talk to them, and even family members may not talk to them for 3 months, 4 months, and then I catch up with them, it's like I saw them yesterday. And that's just part of my personality. Why am I, why do I get discouraged when I'm working on things that are very task focused and things that I have to really finish off, and I have to put that final little detail on, but that drags me down and makes me don't really want to do that. All those things, all these little personality profiles really help me understand who I am, to see my strengths and learn not to worry about my weaknesses. I think it's one of the big things that we see quite often, is that everybody goes, you should be focusing on your weaknesses. What are your weaknesses? We've got to really build them up, make them so that you're better in that area, so then your strengths will be even better again. Personally, I don't agree with that. I think when we work on our strengths, when we focus on the things that we're good at, that's where we find joy. That's where we find the things that actually motivate us and keep us going. There's this idea that everybody's burning out. If you work too much, you'll burn out. But I actually think when you're working in an area that brings you joy, that brings you, is really working into your strengths, and where you really, really want to be working, when you understand those, then you really see a difference in how work feels. It no longer feels like work, it feels like an enjoyment. It brings you joy. It brings you the peace that you, in a way that you have been looking for. It's when you work in the areas that you aren't strong in, and that you try to be strong at them. That's where you end up getting frustrated. You end up getting tired of things. That's when you do burn out, because you're doing something that is not your strength. It's like, I remember years ago, I was talking to an older lady. And she, was talking, for some reason, was talking about, learning the guitar. And I says, I gave that a go one time, for a while. I did it for about a year, trying to learn the guitar, but it wasn't really my interest. Like music, I like music, but playing music or being in a band, that sort of thing, not really my interest, not what I'm interested in. I'm just quite happy to put on the radio or put on Spotify and listen to what I want to listen to. I really enjoy certain music, but do I need to play it? No. And so I tried learning the guitar. Never really came naturally to me, and I wasn't interested in practicing it. And so, so I gave it up. Oh, this lady was horrified. How could I do that? No, you have to really be committed. You have to practice. You have to do it. You really have to get involved in it. You really have to do what's the hard work to do it, and then you become good at it. But for me, it was like my personality is like, things come either naturally to me or they don't. If they come naturally, great, I'll get into it and I'll do it and I'm quite happy. If they don't come naturally to me, I have no interest. I'm not interested in trying to go further, trying to do it. Now, some people would say that's bad. We should be trying to really push into those things and do them, even if it's not natural. We should be really putting the effort in, because eventually we'll get good at it. But if there's no joy in it, if there's no interest in it, then it's not going to work. Tune in next week for the second part of my story.